Good morning and welcome to Rocco Baby Crochet. In this video we're going to be learning how to make these lovely little daffodil flowers. I'm making these to pop into my Easter basket. So I've not put stems on them because what I'm going to do is fill my basket with some green tissue paper so it looks like grass, and then just pop them on the top dotted around. I've made two already. This one here I've made using a 3mm hook. And this one here I've made using a 2.5mm hook. And I think that I prefer this smaller one. So I'm going to make another one using the smaller hook size. But I just wanted to show you the two different sizes that you'd get. So that one's a 3mm hook and this one here is a 2.5mm hook. So I've used the Pico cotton thread for this. So this is yellow and the underneath one is vanilla. So if you wanted to use the same yarn that I've used. So what you're going to need is, you only need small amounts of the two yarns. So that's the yellow, that's the vanilla. I've got a 2.5mm hook, a pair of scissors and a darning needle. Now if you're new to crochet, grab yourself a stitch marker. If you're not new to crochet, then you probably won't need that. We're not working in the round, there is a chain up, but because it's a small project, it can be a little bit difficult to identify which is your first stitch. So if you are new to crochet, that will come in handy. Okay, so we start off, and to begin with we're going to make this tube here that's in the yellow. So if you grab your yellow yarn, and what you want to do is, I'll just move my scissors and my needle out of the way. You're going to make a magic ring. So we made loads of these, but just quickly to show you, you hold your loose end of yarn with your thumb, wrap it around your fingers and make an X shape, wrap it straight back down and up, and hold all your loops of yarn there with your thumb. When you turn your hand over, you've got two parallel lines. Pop your hook underneath this first strand of yarn and pull through the back one. Twist your hook so it's facing upwards and hook back onto that second piece of yarn and pull through. Now this will be a little bit fiddly because for Pico yarn they suggest a 4mm hook size, but I've just gone down because what I didn't like when I used the 3mm one was all these little gaps that are in it, and then when I went down another half a size I lost those. But it does make it a little bit more fiddly, but I think it's worth it. But it's just personal preference really. So I'm just going to pull on my loose ends to close that circle a little bit, keeping that to the left of me, because remember we're going to be crocheting around both the ring and the loose end to begin with. So to start this project, what you want to do is make 6 double crochets around this magic ring. So US terminology, that's 6 single crochets. And you want to make sure you're popping your hook through this loop and also crocheting around this loose end, so when you pull it together at the end it comes together quite easily. So insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and take off both loops on your hook, and that's your first one. So we need 6 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So then if you pull on this loose end that you've crocheted around, it'll close the magic ring for you. So just pull on that gently and it'll pull it together and close that hole up for you. So then what you want to do is slip stitch into this very first stitch here. This first one can be a little bit tight to get it into. but you want to make sure you're going under both of those loops of the stitch, just like that, and slip stitch. So insert your hook, pull through the yarn and pull it through that first loop on the hook here, and that's slip stitches to close your first round off. So for round 2 we need to increase from 6 stitches to 12 stitches. So we're going to place 2 double crochets in every stitch around for a total of 12, but we're going to chain 1 to begin with and then go directly back into where we've just chained 1 here, and we're going to place 2 double crochets. So again, if you're new to crochet, use your stitch marker so you know that that's your first stitch. So that's 1 and 2, and then move round to your next stitch and you're going to place 2 in there as well. 1 and 2. Into your third stitch you're going to place another 2 double crochets. So we've got 6 all together now. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So that's the round complete. So if you can see here, you don't crochet into where you slip stitch and your chain 1 comes out of, because we've already popped 2 into that stitch on this side, so it will look like you've got a stitch but you haven't. So it's a good idea just to count your stitches. So you can see this is what we slip stitched into, this stitch here is our chain 1, and this is our first stitch here. Can you see that? So that's our slip stitch, our chain 1, and that's our first stitch. So we're going to slip stitch into the top of that first stitch, but what we're going to do on this round is we're only going to crochet around the front loops. So when I slip stitch, I only pick up how we would normally go through both the stitches like this, and have 2 loops on my hook at this point like that. It's not focusing very well this today. So how I would normally have 2 there, all I'm going to do for this one is pop my hook under this very first one like that and slip stitch. The reason we're doing this is because when we attach the petals, we're going to attach the petals to the back loop. So what's left over on this side here, we're going to attach the petals to that. So it is important that you're only picking up the front loop of every stitch just for this round. So all we want to do now is 1 double crochet into every front loop all the way around for a total of 12. So straight back into where we've done the slip stitch. Just going to chain 1 first just to get up to the height, then I pick up that front loop again of the same stitch and do my first double crochet. So if you're new, pop your stitch marker in here and then you can identify it easily. So that's 1 just under the front loop again, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so halfway around, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and our last one here is 12. So if you turn it over now, you can see these ridges that we formed by crocheting just into the front loop. That's where we're going to attach our petals. So that's the reason we've done that. So for row 4, what we want to do is we're going to, it's nice easy round, row 4. So remember, this is our slip stitch, that's our chain 1, and that's our first stitch. Going to slip stitch, and we're going to do an ordinary slip stitch under both of the loops of the top of the stitch. So back to normal now, and pull through for a slip stitch, chain 1, nice easy round. We're just going to place 1 double crochet into every stitch around, so including where that chain 1 has just come out of, and we should still by the end of this round have a stitch count of 12. So if you want to hit pause and work your way around, and I'll meet you once I've got my 12 stitches. Okay, so I've got my 12 double crochets going all the way around. At this point you might find it easier just to pop the work inside out while we're working this. It's easier for you. And to get up to row 5, we're going to slip stitch to the top of our first stitch. So don't forget, this is not your stitch, because we've stitched in next to this chain 1. So that's our slip stitch stitch, that's our chain 1, and here is the top of our first stitch. So we're going to place our hook underneath both of those, yarn over and pull through, and then pull through for our slip stitch. So now we need to do a row of increasing stitches. So we're going to start making this funnely shape now. So the way that we do that is you want to chain 1 first of all, and from where you've chained 1 directly into this stitch, you're going to place 1 double crochet. Your next stitch along is going to be an increase, so we're going to place 2 double crochets into that one, and that's your row repeat for this round. So 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and then an increase into the next stitch, so 2 into the next stitch. So 1, then an increase, 1, then an increase, 1, then an increase, and I'll meet you back round when I've finished this round. You should have a total of 18 stitches, and you should be finishing on an increase stitch where you're placing 2 double crochets into 1. So if you want to hit pause, and I'll meet you back at the end of this round. Okay, I've just come to the end of round 5. So I've got my 18 double crochets, and I'm going to slip stitch to join. So again, this isn't a stitch, there's my chain 1, and here's the top of my first stitch. So I'm just going to insert my hook under both of those loops, pull through the yarn and pull through that loop on my hook to join. So round 6 is a nice easy round. You're going to chain 1 and place 1 double crochet into every stitch around for a total of 18 stitches, including into that space where we've just chained 1. So I'll let you work your way around if you want to hit pause, and I'll come back to you once I've finished my 18 stitches. Okay, I've just come to the end of round 6, and I'm going to slip stitch into the top of this first stitch here just to finish the round, remembering this is my slip stitch from the previous round, my chain 1. So here is my first stitch. So pop your hook underneath both of the loops, yarn over, pull through and pull through just to close that off. Now round 7 is our last increasing round. So we're going to have in total 24 stitches by the time we finish this round, and the way that we're doing it is we're going to place 1 double crochet into this first stitch here, 1 double crochet into the second stitch, and then 2 double crochets into the third stitch. So that's going to be the round repeat all the way round. So 1 double crochet into the first 2 stitches, then an increase, 1 double crochet into the next 2 stitches, and then an increase. So to begin with, you're going to chain 1. You're going to go directly into where you've just chained 1, and you slip stitch and place your first double crochet. 1 double crochet into your next stitch along. So our next stitch along is our increase, so we're going to pop 2 double crochets into the same stitch. My next stitch along is 1 single double crochet, 1 double crochet into my next. So my next stitch is my increase, so I'm going to place 2 into that one. And you just do that all the way around until you come back to here. So if you want to hit pause, and I'll meet you when I finish this round. Okay, so I've come to the end of round 7, and I'm going to slip stitch to my first stitch to close this round off. Round 8 is really simple round. You're just going to chain 1 and place 1 double crochet into every stitch around for a total of 24 stitches. 1. So if you make your way around that and hit pause, and I'll meet you once I've completed this round. Okay, so I've placed a stitch all the way around for 24 stitches, and I'm just going to slip stitch to the top of my first stitch to finish off this round. And now what we need to do is, let me show you on this one, we're going to be making this little detail here around the top part of this flower here. So these are known as Pico Stitches. They're really simple to do, but they look really pretty on the daffodils. So let me show you how we do them. So once you've slip stitched, all you want to do is chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, and then you slip stitch straight back into the same stitch. So yarn over, pull through and pull through again, and that forms the little bobble, and that's known as a Pico stitch. So then what you want to do is slip stitch across your next 2 stitches. So insert your hook, pull the yarn through and slip that first loop off your hook. So there's 1, and then slip stitch into the next stitch along for 2, and then once you're into that second one along, chain 3 again, 1, 2 and 3, and slip stitch back into the same stitch that your chain 3 comes out of, and that's your second Pico stitch. So slip stitch into the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2, chain up 3 and slip stitch back into that same stitch to form that little bobble, and you're doing that all the way around. So 2 slip stitches, chain 3 and slip stitch it back into it, slip stitch across 2 stitches, chain 3, slip stitch back in to form the bobble. You do that all the way around, and you should be left at the end with 1 stitch left to slip stitch in. So I'll meet you when I've finished this round, if you'd like to hit pause. Okay, I'm just on to my last couple of stitches, so I need to do 2 slip stitches, 1 and 2, chain 3 and complete my final Pico stitch of this round. And then to finish it off, we're just going to slip stitch into this very last stitch that's left and chain 1, and then what you can do is grab your scissors, that's the funnel part of this daffodil finished, and just snip a length so that you can sew in the loose ends. Pull up on that yarn and pull it to tighten the knot to secure it. So what I'm going to do is, this is going to be the inside of it. I'm just going to sew this loose end in before we go any further. So just thread my yarn onto my darning needle, and I'm just going to stitch across to where my seam is and run my needle straight down the back loops of those all the way to the bottom and pull it through. And then I'm going to go back up the same loops, missing out this first one that I've gone under, all the way up to the top. And then I'm just going to do the same thing one last time, miss out this first loop that it's gone under, and thread my needle back through those loops and pull it straight down. I'm just going to give it a little pull just to make sure that it's not changing the shape, and then you can snip that off. So then if you turn it the right way round, there we go. They're so pretty, aren't they, these? So now we're going to work into these back loops that were created right at the beginning of the project, and we're going to create the petals for our daffodil. So you want to grab your lighter colour of yarn if you're doing them the same as me. They do look nice if you do them all in the same colour as well. You can just play about with the colours. So what we want to do is we want to count back these back loops to find where our first one is. So we should have 12 back loops. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So your 12th one is always going to look a little bit awkward. So there's our 12th one. Okay, I'm just going to pull up on it a little bit so I can see it a bit easier. So check it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So that first one is always a little bit difficult to find, so I always count back so I know that I'm going into the right place. So I'm going to grab my lighter yarn, make myself a little slip knot, insert my hook just to secure it, and I'm going to go underneath this first back loop here, and I'm going to slip stitch on to there. Just like that. So to make these petals, what you want to do is chain 8, so yarn over and pull through 8 times, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8, and then into these chains. So you can see this is the first chain from the hook and the second chain from the hook is here. Into this second chain from the hook you want to make 1 double crochet. Make sure you only go through 1 loop of the chain because you're going to need the other side of the loops to do the second half of the petal. So we're working down this side of the chain, doing this half of the petal, and then when we come back round we'll be working down this half here and working the second half of the petal. So this way round we're just doing 1 half of every petal at the moment. So into the next stitch on your chain of 8 you want to work a half treble. So you yarn over, insert your hook through that chain, yarn over and pull up a loop, so you should have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3, and that is a half treble. Into your next chain down you're going to work a treble. So yarn over, insert your hook into the chain, yarn over and pull up a loop, so you'll have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through 2, leaving you 2 loops, yarn over and pull through those last 2 loops, and that's your treble. Into the next 2 chains we're going to be placing 1 double treble. So you yarn over twice before you insert your hook, then insert your hook into the chain, yarn over and pull up a loop. So you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through your first 2, leaving you 3, yarn over, pull through 2 of those, leaving you 2, and yarn over and pull through those last 2, and that's a double treble. So we need another double treble into this loop here. So yarn over twice, insert your hook into that chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 more loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through your last 2 loops on your hook. So into your next chain space you want to place an ordinary treble. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. And into your very last chain, so your base chain, we're going to be placing a half treble crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull off all 3 loops on your hook. And then what we want to do is we're going to slip stitch into our next back loop, which is here. Can you see that? It's just sticking up a little bit from the other stitches. They're all my back loops. You can see it probably better here. So I'm going to insert my hook underneath that back loop and do a slip stitch, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the next back loop, and once I've slip stitched into that one I'm going to chain 8 again and make another petal. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So we're going to do this exactly the same again. So I'll do this one with you. You're going to do this in total 6 times around. So we've just made 1/2 of each of the 6 petals. So once you've chained your 8, you count down 2 chains from the hook. Remember, this piece of yarn on the hook counts for nothing, so that's 1 and 2. Count back your V's. So into the second chain from the hook you're going to place 1 double crochet. In the next chain down you're going to place a half treble, so you're yarning over, inserting your hook underneath that loop, yarn over and pull up, yarn over and take off all the loops on your hook. Into the next chain down you're going to work a treble, so you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into that chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, take off 2 loops off your hook, yarn over and take off the last 2 loops. So our next one is a double treble, so you're yarning over twice, insert your hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 more, and then yarn over and pull through your last 2. So the same as the last petal we do need another double treble here. So yarn over twice, insert your hook into that chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops on your hook. So into this next chain space here we're going to work a treble. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, take off 2 loops off your hook, yarn over and take off your last 2 loops on your hook. So into our base chain now, we're going to work 1/2 treble crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and take off all the loops on your hook. And then you're going to slip stitch into this next stitch here. So insert your hook, pull through the yarn and take off your loop, and then you're going to slip stitch into this next back loop along here. Chain up 8 and repeat that exact process that we've done for these 2, and I'll meet you back round. You should have a total of a total of 6 of these half petals, so I'll meet you back when I'm on my last one. Okay, so I'm just about to finish off my 6 half petal with a half treble crochet. So that's my last stitch in my 6 petals. Now what we want to do is just move all your loose ends out of the way. This first one is your fiddliest one, and then once you get going it's easy. You're going to slip stitch directly into your first chain of your first half petal here, and we're just going to copy exactly what we did, but going upwards instead of going down. So insert your hook into that first chain, which is here, and you just want to slip stitch just to close that first petal off, and then into that same space you're going to be placing your first. So insert your hook directly into the first place, yarn over, pull up a loop and do your first half treble, and that's the trickiest stitch to do to get, and then it's pretty simple from here on out. So into this next chain up here you're going to be placing a treble, so yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So if you remember, our next 2 chains are going to be the double trebles, so we're going to yarn over twice, insert our hook into that chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and yarn over and pull through my last 2 loops. The next one along here we're going to do another double treble, so yarning over twice, inserting our hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through your last 2. Our next one along is a treble, so yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Our next one, which is here, is a half treble, so yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops, and then your last chain space, which is here, you're going to just place a double crochet in that one, and then we need to make a little point of a little tip to the leaf, so we're going to do another picot stitch. So what you want to do is slip stitch to the next stitch along, which was your first double crochet on the other half, so slip stitch into there, chain 1 and slip stitch back into that same stitch, and that just creates a little point to the tip of your flower. So to get over to this, so that's our full petal done. So to get over to this next petal, to complete that one, what we want to do is slip stitch all the way down So 1 slip stitch into each of the stitches going down the petal. Now you don't want to make these slip stitches too tight, because if you do them tight, you're going to be changing the shape of the flower. It's going to pull and not sit very nicely. So keep these slip stitches quite loose. Just take your time doing them, because it is a little bit fiddly. It's fiddly as well because this yarn is meant for a 4mm hook and I've gone down to a 2.5mm hook, so it does make it a little bit more fiddly. Do this next one with you. So you slip stitch all the way down until that very last one where you place the half treble, and that's your first leaf complete, your first petal complete. So to get across to here, we're going to do exactly the same, except we're not going to slip stitch. We're going to go directly into the base of this first chain here and place our half treble. So yarning over, insert your hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So your next one is your treble. So yarn over, insert your hook into the next chain up, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, take off 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through your last 2 loops on your hook. Next chain up is here, and we're going to be doing a double treble. So yarning over twice, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pulling through your last 2 loops on your hook. Our next chain is here, so we need to do another double treble here. So yarning over twice, insert your hook into that chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, take off 2 loops, yarn over, take off 2 loops, yarn over, take off your last 2 loops. So our next chain space here is a treble, so yarning over just the once, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So your next chain space here is your half treble, so you yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and take off all the loops on your hook, and then your last stitch on this side is your double crochet. So you insert your hook into the last chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both loops. Then we just want to slip stitch into the top of the next stitch, and we're just going to do that picot stitch again. So slip stitch, chain 1 and slip stitch back into the same stitch, just to make your petal the little point at the tip of the petal, and then you're going to slip stitch all the way down like we did in the previous one, and you're going to repeat that on all 6 petals. So if you want to hit pause, and I'll meet you back once I've finished coming to the end of my 6th petal, and I'll show you just how we finish the flower off. So hit pause. Okay, so I've just finished my 6th petal, and I've slip stitched all the way back down to the base of this first stitch that I did in it. Once you've slip stitched your last slip stitch, you just chain 1, leave off enough of an end for you to weave in, snip your yarn, pull up and pull on that loose end just to secure that knot, and then just make sure all your petals are pointing the right way, and there you go, beautiful little daffodil. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Hit like and subscribe. We are almost done filming all the little extras that are going in the basket. So I hope you've enjoyed the project. I hope you've crocheted along with me, and we'll see you very soon. Bye.